Real Estate and Mortgage Show, your go-to spot for everything home buying, selling, and financing on News Talk 580 CFRA.
And your host who finally made it in, Greg Tilley.
Yeah, finally made it in. The show could be good again, Greg. It could be good again.
I was listening while I was driving in. You guys don't need me. What are you talking about? You guys sounded great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah, but who's going to set up all the cameras and all that?
Right.
My assistant's only going to get half a show this time.
That's right. I know. I'm sorry. All right, Frank, we've got an inflation report coming this week, I was reading.
Tuesday. So, again, we've got, like I said, our national mortgage conference is here. We have lenders, default insurers, suppliers, all here in Ottawa for the weekend. And then it culminates for us on Tuesday. On Tuesday, there's a number of us that are going to meet with MPs. And it's quite interesting that the inflation report comes out at about 9:30 in the morning. So most of our meetings start at 10:30. So I'm sure, even though that's not one of the topics, our topics are more about how do we make houses more affordable for Canadians? How do we keep Canadians in homes? That's what we're going to be talking to the MPs about. How do we make sure that 30-year amortization is available for everyone? And the inflation report plays a part only because if the expectation, most economists are calling for our inflation report, our overall inflation to go from 1.9, maybe as high as 2.4, but likely 2.1, 2.2. A lot of it based on fuel costs that are a little bit higher this September versus last September. And sometimes it's all these little items. But let's call a spade a spade. The cost of living is still very expensive. Groceries are still very expensive. It feels like they continue to go up and not come back down.
Certainly not coming down.
No, not coming down. So, that inflation report is going to be important because we're going to make it part of our conversation based on the fact that the inflation's going up. We need to fix this. We need to help Canadians get into homes. And the other thing that we're going to really focus on is fraud. The amount of fraud that's happening. And again, most Canadians that are committing fraud aren't doing it to try and take advantage of the banks, but fraud is still fraud. And if you're fabricating your income documentation, you're fabricating documents to be able to get into home ownership, at some point, the financial system is going to break down because if you're lying and saying that you're making $100,000 when you're only making $65,000 or $70,000, then at some point you're going to start running behind on payments, and therefore it's going to impact the real estate market. It's going to impact the financial markets. So,
what can you do if someone has? Let's say someone makes $150,000 a year, and they put on their that they make $210,000 in order to get finance for this house. Is there a place to go? Like, where do you go to
verify it?
To verify.
So that's
not even to verify it. Like, if you know this is happening,
yeah.
Is there like a besides the police? Is there a body that you go to that says this is fraudulent?
Well, there is. I mean, the lenders have to catch it, or we have to try and catch it on our end. What we're asking the government for assistance for is and most of the fraud happens with self-employed people. There's still some of it that happens there are companies out there that produce fraudulent letters of employment, fraudulent pay stubs, fraudulent workplaces. They'll, believe it or not, this is how crazy it is. They'll build a website for a company. They'll put these people on their website like they work there and what they do. They actually get a voice over internet phone number that's specific to that company so that when the phone rings,
thank you for calling.
It shows, thank you for calling ABC Plumbing or whatever. And so that when a lender calls, it looks like it's a legit number, a legit company. They look at the website. So what we've asked the government to do is to give the lenders at least approval to be able to have a 1-800 number or a website that they can go on. So we're not going to get into clients' personal information, but they should have the right to be able to say, this client with this SIN number and this address has claimed that on line 15,000 of their tax return, they're telling us that they made $185,000, and line 26,000, which is their net income, is $180,000 with some of the write-offs. Maybe they did an RSP contribution.
Is that correct?
All we're asking for is that number accurate? Because that's the notice of assessment that we've received. Here's what it says. So we're not asking them to give us carte blanche, or the lenders carte blanche at this information. All we're asking is allow us the opportunity to be able to give you some numbers, and all you have to do is come back to us and say either yes or no, so that if it's no, that means it's a fraudulent notice of assessment, and we know that now that we're dealing with somebody who's trying to commit fraud. That's all we're asking for.
And listen, on the good side of things right now, too, which is really positive to bring up, is we have a rate announcement that's coming up on the 29th, and I read from Benjamin Tall, who we had on the show years ago, who's the senior economist for CIBC. He basically said he's expecting 2 rate drops. The 29th is going down, and December 10th or 11th, he believes
December 10th?
He believes there's going to be another rate drop, which I like to take what he says as gospel because he's very, very smart.
Seems to be pretty accurate a lot of the time, yeah.
It's a great prediction, but again, it's subject to some of the reports that come out. So, the anticipation is that our overall inflation is going to go, let's say, to 2.2, 1.9, 2.2. But hopefully there's some relief on the core inflation. There's some relief on those numbers that I think the Bank of Canada looks at very seriously when they make their decision whether to lower the Bank of Canada prime rate or not. And understanding that as much as a lower prime rate is good for the real estate industry, good for the mortgage industry, it's also good for businesses. So this isn't all about real estate and mortgages. It's also about companies that use personal lines of credits or business lines of credits to front their business, to run their businesses. And when those interest costs come down, it helps them continue to maintain employment where they may have to make a tough decision to let people go because their interest costs, their carrying costs are too much. But if the interest rates continue to come down, at least they have an opportunity to say, okay, like we're saving this amount now by the cost coming down, so let's maintain this employment right now.
Greg and I shot a video recently about this, and it was like, is this awesome for mortgages? Is this awesome for homeowners and home buyers? And absolutely, this is amazing if we get some rate drops. But you're right. Not only businesses, you got to look at even things like builders. Like builders are carrying massive debt and massive lines of credits, and they don't get their financing until they sell so many units, and so they're fronting a lot of this, and their rates at one point when the rates were super high, some of them were 8.5%, 9%, and it was crippling to these builders. So the more we can get these rates down, it's better for builders. We can get shovels in the ground. It's better for businesses. I know a lot of businesses, like you said, Frank, that literally live on a line of credit. Like they buy a whack load of stuff and use their line of credit, and they make sales and pay off their line of credit and buy a whack load and start all over again. So
but when you start getting up into that 8, 9, 10%, it's hard to do harder and harder and harder to get caught up.
Well, what you're doing is you're eating into your profits, right? And the less profit you have, you're right. Now you start looking at your staff and you start looking at layoffs.
You got to cut costs somewhere.
You got to cut costs somewhere. So yeah, this is great for the economy. And everyone's like, well, it's great for home buyers. Of course, Paul, that's what you want is people buying homes. And I'm like, well, of course I want people buying homes, but it's also amazing for businesses that are starving and hurting right now and, trying to carry a lot of weight, and they're carrying a lot of weight, and they've carried a lot of weight for a long time. So getting these rates down, it starts to open up a little more profit for them. And when they start making more profit, what do? They grow, they hire, they bring people on, they build more, they do more, they manufacture more. And so really, really good news. If we can get the rates to come down, absolutely, I think it's going to spur on the economy, because I think right now we are starting to see a bit of a stagnant real estate market. It's good real estate market, but it's a little stagnant. October is usually kind of a slower month as we're getting into our winter season, but it's been insane so far.
Not for Paul Rushforth Real Estate, I'll tell you that.
But the weather helps. Yeah. The weather's got to help. I mean, it's been an absolutely fabulous fall. I mean, it's been incredible. I mean, golfers are absolutely in heaven right now. I mean, this has been amazing to be able to golf. In some years, the middle of October, you're pretty well putting everything away. Yeah. I think the golf course has got another month maybe ahead of them, which is good for them.
And same with the market too. Like I said to Greg, like he's listing tons and tons and tons of homes, and I've probably had 5 to 6 conversations with my sellers this week who are very staunch about not lowering their listing price, and we're not getting the activity we need. We're not getting the offers that we need, and I'm saying we need to. It's almost you get at this time of year, you almost get to a little bit of a desperation where it's like, okay, let's be honest, November is really going to start to slow down. December, people are thinking about holidays and Christmas, so it really gets slow. So, Mr. Seller, like, if you don't sell your house in the next month, we could be chatting in February and March about getting a price reduction to get your home sold. Can you carry your home that long? Think of your carrying costs, and especially investors. When investors won't lower their price, and I'm like, okay, your place is vacant. You're spending X amount of $1,000s a month on this place just to carry this place. Why don't we lower the price, get it sold, and not have to worry about it in February and March and April and those months? So right now I'm having those numbers, even though the market is good and you're listing tons of places. But the conversations I'm having with sellers right now is like, the clock is ticking. Like, sure, we sell lots of homes in November and lots of homes in December, but a fraction of what we sell in the other months.
For sure.
So if you need your home sold and it's not selling, you have two issues. You have a price problem or a location problem. Or a condition problem. Well, guess what? You can fix your condition. You can't fix your location. You can 100% fix your price. And if you're not getting your home sold in the next month, there's a possibility you're carrying your home into 2026. And if you can't do that, you have to get your price down now to get it sold, or alter the condition, which a lot of people can't do.
Well, and buyers have a lot of choice these days as well, right? There's a lot more coming onto the market. So if you're the highest price, you're going to sit. You
have to look
at
as
simple as that.
You have to look at the comps, and it's so many times. It's like I'm not lowering my house because my house is the nicest, and I'm like, well, Mr. Seller, like this home here also has a pool, it has a finished basement, 4 bedrooms, and a family room, and a this and a that and a that. It's an identical home to yours, basically on the same beautiful tree-lined street that's selling for $30,000 less than yours. Oh, and by the way, it hasn't sold yet. So like,
it also has not sold.
It also has not sold yet, but those are the conversations, and this is the time of year where those conversations are the toughest conversations, but it's trying to get people to realize that not only are you in competition with a lot of listings right now and a lot of beautiful homes, but you're also in competition with the timing of the market right now, meaning our market drops every day as we get into November, going into December. And then it starts to pick up again in January. So if you're someone who's moving into a new house in December or January, February or March or sometimes next year, your days are dwindling. Get your price down, get it sold. And then, there's times where you're going to sell for a little less than you thought you were going to sell for. But at the same time, you're not going to run into trouble and own 2 homes.
Right.
Yeah. Outside of super hot neighborhoods, though, and listen, there's always going to be a handful of super hot neighborhoods where people want to move in. Our house lists, it's gone. It's kind of the crazy days of COVID almost. But there isn't really the need to go in without financing, without home inspection as much as there is. I had a client call me this week and say, Frank, I might need a pre-approval letter. My real estate agent says I should have a pre-approval letter. I may have to waive financing. And I said, where are you buying? And she told me the address. And I said, how long has the property been listed? She goes, 76 days. I said,
geez.
Has there been a price drop? She goes, no. I said, oh, come on. There's no way that's a hot property. If it's been on the market for 76 days, they haven't dropped the price, and now the real estate agent's telling you. Now, I can understand possibly they've accepted offers and then it fell through on financing, but there's no way you should be looking at this house without a home inspection. And listen, I have no problem giving you a pre-approval certificate, but at the end of the day, I still need to know about the property before you can go in without a financing.
Well, the reason we're looking for those right now, Frank, and I'll tell you why. So 2 things. I was in a multiple offer situation the other day. We had 3-4 offers on it. Not one of them came in clean. Not one. And I said, "Do you sure you want to clean up some conditions here?" Nope. So people are putting in their financing, putting in their home inspection, which is great. The biggest killer right now is the realtors not doing their job and actually getting those firm pre-approvals. We're seeing homes. We talked about your good friend. I'm not going to say his name on the radio. We talked about your good friend, who's one of my favorite realtors in the city, and he's had 7 deals fall apart recently. We just had one. I talked to 2 of my agents who had 2 fall apart on financing. The other agent said the guy was solid. He was absolutely solid. I'm like, we almost have to get to the point, Frank, where we have to get a paper now from the mortgage broker saying, just show me they're solid.
Yeah, and I'm okay with doing that, I said, but and then she said the home inspection, said, that sounds crazy to me. That a house that's been listed for this long, and not only that, the realtor said you may have to make an offer close to list price, but it's been on the market for 76 days. There's something wrong. I said, just watch. There's got to be something, because if it's listed properly, why is it still on the market for 76 days?
Average days on market is not 76 days.
No, it's much less than that. No.
It's not, even though there's a lot of houses that probably go well above 76, but the average is still below that, right?
The median days on market is about 22. So, I mean, it's still reasonable, right? And I've always said, and this is, it almost sounds like I'm talking out of one side of my mouth and the other side of my mouth, but people are like, is it a good time to buy a home right now? Absolutely. Is it a good time to sell a home right now? Absolutely.
That came out of both sides of your mouth.
But I'm going to tell you why. And I've said it before. If your home shows well and it's priced well and it's located well, your home is 100% going to sell because there's lots of buyers looking out there. And when I say that it's a great time to buy, we haven't seen inventory like this in quite a while. We're seeing homes now that some areas, like I go to search, let's say a townhome in, I don't know, Riverside South, and there could have been 2 before. Now there's 22. You know, I'm just using those numbers as an example. I didn't search that. So don't come back at me and say there's not 22. But I'm just saying there could be like 22 comparables now where it's like there's a lot more opportunity. So if your home shows well and is priced well, it will sell. If it doesn't, it won't. It won't. And if you're a buyer, you have lots of choice. It's a great time
Take
to
your
buy
time.
with rates coming down, right? So why not?
All right, when we come back from the break, we got a bunch of questions that were submitted on realestateandmortgageshow.com. If you want to give us a call, 521-TALK, 521-8255. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Just before we get to these questions, Paul, we have a special guest coming in next week. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We do. We have Stephanie Appeljohn, the owner of Merry Maids of Ottawa, who's coming on next week to talk about all your cleaning needs, getting your house ready to sell your property. So excited to have Stephanie Appeljohn on the show next week.
Oh, that'll be amazing. We're looking forward to talking
Well, and
to her.
also, right, if you've sold your house and now you're moving out, I mean, you know, you don't want to leave the house kind of messy. Maybe that's an
We're going
opportunity
to talk about move out cleans, move in cleans, the products they use, talk about all the neat things that they're doing for consumers right now. And she's a really good friend of mine in Petra, so it's going to be great to have her on the show.
Awesome. Really looking forward to it. Hey, Frank, we had a question submitted at realestateandmortgageshow.com this week from Rick. Rick was asking, have you ever used or heard of Chicago title insurance, and what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, so again, title insurance are very popular in Canada, and they should be because they're very important because they do protect. When you're buying a house, a lender will very, very highly recommend and almost force you to take a title insurance policy. Chicago Title, as much as it sounds like it's an American company, but it's F&F here in Canada, one of the biggest title insurance companies in the world. Essentially what they do is they protect you against, if a lot, if a house is listed and the lot is 60 by 100 and then, because that's what the owner thinks, but we're not going to do a survey. There were days when you used to have to get a survey, which are $3,000-$4,000. Title insurance protects you so that if, the neighbor next door says, what are you doing building a fence on my lot? And, all of a sudden it's not 60 by 100. Maybe it's 55 by 100. Right. And now you're on their line. So that's where title insurance protects. We'll do the survey. We'll advise you as to where your lot line is. Again, those protections, if somebody's built something on your lot, you buy the house, and next thing you know, you find out that it's on your lot, you've got those protections in place. So very reputable company, most lawyers. So you typically get it when you buy a house. Title insurance for lenders when you're refinancing or financing a home. Lenders also have a title insurance, but that's to protect them against those same things, but it protects the lenders in case something goes wrong. So
do you recommend it to people buying houses to get title insurance?
It's mandatory.
It's almost mandatory because other than that, you got to provide the lender with a survey. Well, you can get a title insurance policy for $300, $400, depends on the purchase price of your house.
Or a survey for $4,000.
Or a survey for $4,000, I think. And not only that, that's not the only thing it protects. That's just one aspect. So therefore, it's all worth it. And they are a legitimate company.
Not to mention, it cuts down your lawyer's bill because lawyers don't have to do certain searches on now.
Correct.
Because they just rely on the title insurance.
Correct.
So your lawyer bill becomes cheaper
on closing.
So so lawyers love title insurance because it saves them from doing a lot of things, and you get protected. You have that title insurance. So I don't really know a lawyer now who gives you the option. It's just you're getting title insurance.
Getting title insurance.
Well, you have no choice because the lender requests it. Unless you're buying a house cash, the lender is going to request it. So
right. Hey, we also had a question in from Blair. This one's for you, Paul. Blair said, I'm looking at buying vacant land in New Brunswick. What questions should I ask my agent during the buying process, and what conditions could go in the offer?
Great question. Obviously, New Brunswick is different from Ontario, so this is what I'm looking at for Ontario. But one, you want to know some things about the lots. Like, what are you building on that? What's the zoning? Has it been severed? Is there well and septic? Is there city services? What are the restrictive covenants? What can you and can't build on there? Do they have, restrictive covenants where it has to be a 3,000 square foot home, or does it have to be, a purple garage, like whatever they say? But those are really, really important. So you need a lawyer's review. You want to find out things about, you even want to find out who the owner of that land is, right? The zoning is number one. Zoning is number one.
Can you do what you intend to do?
Yeah, if your goal is to build a 3,000 square foot home, you need to make sure that I have the zoning for a 3,000 square foot home. There's no restrictive covenants. Are there any easements on the land? Can I put a pool in the back and not worry about any drainage or anything like that? So those are things. I know it's really quick. I did respond to Blair, so he did get my my answer, but that's just the quick bones of that answer, is that you do have to do your due diligence that you can build what you want to build on there. And it should always be conditional on those things. Never buy that land and then try to find out what you can build on there. That has to be conditional on there.
So the offer you're writing should have that as a condition, saying
You've got
you're
subject to
verifying zoning,
severance. Has it legally been severed? What are the restrictive covenants? What are the easements, encroachments, things like that? Those are things that you need to find out to make sure you can build what you want to build on there.
Right.
And I'm sure New Brunswick, Ontario are same sort of rules and laws, but that's and a good real estate agent will know that anyway. So if he has a good realtor in New Brunswick, he will know that, or he will find that out.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And by the way, financing on land, not that easy. So hopefully you finance
that
it
was
through.
exactly my question, Frank.
If you have an existing home that doesn't have a mortgage on it, or a very small mortgage, the idea would be to maybe use a line of credit on the existing home to use that to buy the lot, so
purchase
that you
the
can
land.
Purchase the land. Yeah.
All right. Birthdays, Frank?
Yeah, birthdays. We've got a listener, very loyal listener, Maria Alaimo, who's celebrating her 75th birthday today. So your daughter Daniela and Sal, your husband Sal, and obviously all your grandkids and son-in-law wish you happy birthday, and thanks for being such a loyal listener. And then, it's called birthday. Well, I became a no-no for the third time on Wednesday. My beautiful daughter Katrina and her husband Shaf. But Katrina did all the work, obviously, but gave birth to my beautiful new granddaughter, 7 pounds, 2 ounces, Camilla. Welcome to the world, Camilla, and welcome to our family. We are beyond excited to have yet another granddaughter.
And Frank, just yesterday we're having lunch together, and he's like, yeah, I couldn't get back to this guy and this now, because my daughter had a baby. And I said, what?
Yeah.
Your daughter had a baby? And one more thing. I'm very lucky to be joining Frank on Monday because he's being inducted into the Mortgage Hall of Fame. So congratulations once again to Frank.
That's amazing.
It's going to be a big day, and I'm excited for the event.
It is, and you'll want to record it because I got a joke targeted at you.
Of course. So
I can't let that go. Are you kidding?
I do have one
birthdays.
One of my great agents, Glenn, his birthday is on Thursday, and the second Tracy Arnett agent, Ashley, is Friday's her 3-year anniversary with Paul Rushforth Real Estate when she came over with Tracy and crew. So.
Amazing. All right, so next week, Stephanie Appeljohn from Merry Maids Ottawa is in.
Yep.
We'll hope to hear from you then. If you have a question before then, go to realestateandmortgageshow.com, and you're able to give us a call during the show next week, of course, as well. Have a great week.
It's only 7 seconds, but it's not 11:59 yet.
But
we're
Greg's only worked half a show.
That's
He wants
true,
to get out of
that's
here.
true.
He wants to get out of here.
Please support local businesses and charities, everyone. Have a great weekend.